A man was having dinner at a restaurant all alone. After some time, he shouted and freaked out at the waiter, and he complained that someone from another table is continuously staring gazing at. The waiter was filled with surprise because there was no other person in the whole restaurant. In fact, what the man was pointing out was his own reflection in the mirror. So the waiter thought, this guy is either crazy or just kidding with me. The man was actually suffering from a disease called prosopagnosia, which is also known as the face blindness. And his condition was so severe that he was not able to identify his own face in the mirror. In another case, Dr. P was a singer and a music teacher. He got some vision impairment in which he was able to see separate features of the objects, but he was not able to correctly identify the whole objects. At first, he thinks that diabetes has affected his vision, so he goes to an eye specialist. After several tests, the eye specialist suspects that Dr. P may have a neurological problem, and the eye specialist refers him to a neurologist. His name was Dr. Sachs. Dr. Sachs, when Dr. P, the patient, was leaving from the clinic of Dr. Sachs, he raised his hand to grab his hat, and surprisingly, what he grabbed was the head of his wife. He mistook his wife for a hat due to his face blindness. This piece of his story is taken from the famous book, The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat, written by Dr. Oliver Sacks. Prosopagnosia, also known as face blindness, is a condition in which the patient cannot recognize people's faces. Face blindness often affects people from birth and is usually a problem a person has for most or all of his life. It can have a severe impact on everyday life. So, what is prosopagnosia caused by? Prosopagnosia is thought to be the result of abnormalities, damage, or impairment in the right fusiform gyrus. Fusiform gyrus is a fault in the brain that appears to coordinate the neural systems that control facial perception and memory. Prosopagnosia can result from stroke, traumatic brain injury, or certain neurodegenerative diseases. Some people with prosopagnosia cannot recognize certain facial expressions, cannot judge a person's age or gender, or cannot follow a person's gaze, eye movement, staring, where the person is staring. Others may not even recognize their own face in the mirror or in photos. Prosopagnosia can affect a person's ability to recognize objects such as places or cars. Do you know what famous person has prosopagnosia? The actor Brad Pitt.
We do want to turn now to our GMA cover story. Brad Pitt saying he has face blindness, and that's a condition that he says leaves him unable to recognize faces. Our Kaylee Hartung has more on what this is and how it's treated. Kaylee, good morning.
Hey, good morning, TJ. Brad Pitt has one of the most recognizable faces in the world. I mean, who wouldn't want to run into him at a party? But it turns out social settings often make him feel ashamed because he worries people think he's snubbing them when really he believes he's struggling with this rare condition.
This morning, Brad Pitt opening up about a condition he says leaves him unable to recognize people's faces.
I don't know your name, but I remember that hair. And I remember your white little face.
The star telling GQ magazine that he believes he has prosopagnosia, or face blindness, preventing him from recognizing faces in social settings, saying, "Nobody believes me."
I don't know what else to say.
In prosopagnosia, experienced by about 2% of Americans, one's memory and sight are fine, but areas of the brain that process faces may not work properly.
For some people, it may be just some minor difficulties in remembering people's names and keeping strangers straight. And for other people, it may be more severe, such that they have issues with recognizing their own friends and family, or even issues recognizing their own reflection.
GQ writing.
Yeah, you heard it right. The actor Brad Pitt said in a recent interview that he has prosopagnosia. While Mr. Pitt, who is 58 years old, has never been formally diagnosed with the condition, he said in an interview that he had struggled for years to recognize people's faces.